are you guys? Long time no see. I hope you're doing well. We're almost through another month. Shouts out to you. Pat yourself on the back. We made it through another month. We're almost through another year. That's crazy. I just want to start it off saying that before we get into all the questions. So sit down, grab yourself a little snack, a little drinky drink. If you're 21, I'm okay with that. If you're not 21, no underage drinking. I had to be your mother. Anyways, yeah. So my first YouTube video back on. Shouts out to my friend M for making these cute little earrings for me. Look how freaking cute they are. They're so adorable. So adorable. I love M so bad. This is my room. You're not gonna see any more of it, so it looks a little bland. I might change the angle. Hold on. Phew. I think this is a little bit better. Or we could do my pato wall. I don't know. We're still figuring out the setup. Trying to make sure it looks semi-decent. I don't know. I got this off Amazon. This is so cute. This is becoming a room tour. Anyways, what was I gonna say? My brain has left the station. So I just wanted to sit down, do a little Q&A, let you know about me, so we can be besties, you know? My silly little ducks. My silly little friends. If you don't know me and you're not from my Twitter, hi, how are you? I'm Andy. If you do know me from Twitter, hello my little newtsies. How are you? Love you. Thank you for stopping by and hanging out with me. So let's just get into the video, I guess. This is gonna be so much hell to film and edit and post. I am already getting a little self-conscious. So I just exited out of it. I have my little questions. Y'all ran up the questions so much. Like, y'all showed out for me and I feel so loved and so cared for. Also, these little guys might be in my videos. So I don't know if you've seen them before, but we have Twitter's nephew, Pascal, and Mikey, everyone's new bombshell in the villa. So they will be around. I might use them as pillows or something. You'll see them. So if I'm grabbing things off the side, that's just what it is. I'll just be like, poof. Anyways, that's actually kind of nice. Anyways, I'm so scared that my camera's gonna fall. It's literally being held up by a squishmallow. Okay, let's just get into it before everything just falls apart. Number one question, I forget who asked this. I think it was Liv. Could be wrong. I'll put it up here somewhere. I don't know. If I put it up there, I put it up there. Who knows how much editing Alex will actually do? We don't know. Number one question is, who was the driver that got you into Indy and F1? And what about them appealed to you? I'm gonna start with F1 because that's what I got into, and then I'll move over to IndyCar because that's more recent. So for F1, and you guys are gonna be like, so you watch Drive to Survive and suddenly you like F1. Yes, but I educated myself. I don't know a lot about wheel-to-wheel knowledge and all of that. I know a little bit about like race lines and stuff, but that's just like bare minimum of being like, I can see where it goes, but like that's... Anyways, the original plot of the movie was there. So I first started Drive to Survive, I think over the summer, I want to say, or during last semester. In May, I think. Yes. Because I think May was right around the time of Suzuka. Yes, right around the time of Suzuka, because I joined watching around Suzuka and Miami. Those were the first two races I watched, which that's a whole other thing. So it was in May. So I was watching Drive to Survive, and I fell in love with like Daniel. Charles was a big one for me because I really liked his coming up story, talking about how like he won right after his father passed and all of his adversity and stuff. And I just like, I really root for underdogs in that kind of way, where it's like, your team is fucking you over, come here baby, come here, let Andy hold you, you're gonna be okay, you know? Like that kind of like, I just want to hug him because he and I are both trauma bonding right now. I mean, we all saw Canada. Sorry, I said the name, I'm sorry. Ferrari friends, don't hate me, girl. I'm sorry, I'm one of y'all. Anyways, so Charles and Daniel were the first two that I was like, oh, I really need to watch for them. So then I watched for them, and then I fell in love with Lando, and then while watching Drive to Survive, and then I ended up watching Lando's first win, and I was like, now I really love you, because I was bawling my eyes out. For IndyCar, everyone that follows me on Twitter knows who I love from IndyCar, because Pato Award, Pato, love that man to death. Like, I love him. I love Pato. He is my man. And if anyone is gonna scream my man about Pato, it is me. But enough being a little psychotic little girl. I'm gonna pause for a second and go grab a drink. Be right back. Alright guys, what's something? I groan and grunt like an old man when I get up on things. Not like, so what did she say? Anyways, I'm severely unmedicated. This is question one of so many. Pato got me into IndyCar. Charles and Daniel got me into F1. Love them all dearly. I will say I'm starting kind of lean towards IndyCar more than F1. Don't hate me. It's just kind of more fun sometimes. Like, it's all quirky and fun, and like they don't take themselves too seriously. My favorite motivational quote. It's not a motivational quote, but it's a Chinese proverb. I think it's a Chinese proverb, and it goes, it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener at war. And I got that from a Navy SEAL or something, I think. Fuck, what's his name? Nick. He's like a really decorated Marine, I think. Nick. It starts with a S, and I can't say it because it's so long. I'm gonna post it up here. There's a clip from John Bernthal's podcast where he talks about it. And he's basically like, the saying goes, it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener at war, because if you're a gardener at war, something along the line got severely fucked up. And I think that is just, it's funny, but it's also motivational because it's like, you have the skills, but you're surrounded by things that you're calm in, rather than having no skills and being out of your element, you know? At least that's how I take the Chinese proverb. What is the next one? How do you calm yourself down the most when stressed? When stressed, I kind of just do when I'm really stressed, I'll shut down, because if I'm really stressed, I lash out. And I know that's very wrong, and you're not supposed to do that, and I'm working on it. But like, I kind of realize when I'm stressed and I get agitated, and people try to ask me if I'm okay, I kind of just shut down. So then I just do my own thing. I'll journal, or I'll listen to music, and I'll journal, and I'll go into like my university studio and I'll paint. But like, I haven't done that in so long because I'm kind of on a decline now, like, because I don't have as many classes because it's senior year, so I don't really have that pressure and that amount of stress that I used to, because now it's just all studio work and not a bunch of classes that I need to write papers for and do all this stuff for. What character do you relate to most on 911? Buck. I think Buck, because he kind of gets the shit hand of the deal most times. I mean, if you've seen 911, you know what he's been through. Like, every single season, he's through some life-threatening, traumatic situation, and then he's just like, I'm fine. We're like, fuck, no, you're not. And that's me to a T. And I think he and I just kind of trauma bonded, and I was just like, I see you, Evan, and I am exactly that way. Next, something you like to do to relax after a long day. I throw on a hoodie and sweats, because normally I'll wear jeans and my military boots and like a full outfit and earrings and makeup and all of that. If I have enough time for it, I will, but mostly it's my boots and my jeans and then like whatever shirt that I throw on and I head out the door for it, because most times I'm running late for something all the time. So I would say I get in cozy, I turn on my fans. I don't know if you can hear me over my fan. Is literally like, if you were sitting here, it's literally like a foot away from the camera. So I don't know if you can hear me, or I don't know if I need to turn off the fan, but I have my room fan on and a big like oscillating fan. I couldn't think of the word for a second, so I went like that. Great job, Andy. You're doing so well. So I like just lay in my bed and I just feel at peace. And I nap for a good 2 hours because I'm like, I was up all day. I deserve a little nap. and then the little nap turns into like 2-3 hour long nap, and then I'm like, whoa. And then sometimes I'll make myself like a chocolate waffle or chicken fries with the chipotle melt Taco Bell sauce. Like, if you know the chicken chipotle like the quesadilla thing from Taco Bell, they sell the sauce for that, and I put it on everything. So that is one thing that I'm like, basically being like, I have a good snack, I nap for a little bit, and I just rot in my little bed till I have to get up again. That's just me. Who was the first driver or team that caught your attention? Charles was the first driver that caught my attention, but so was Daniel, but it was Daniel at Red Bull, and there was Charles with Ferrari. But Ferrari altogether caught my attention. And I was like, it's like the longest running team in F1. That's so cool. I love the heritage. I love like the tifosi. I love all of that. Like, I think growing up in St. Louis, seeing like the Rams fans, this is probably gonna be very niche for most of you, but like St. Louis, like the St. Louis Rams, when they were in town when I grew up, were not the best team in the world. They were horrible, and we would still have season tickets every single year. My dad would buy season tickets, and we would go to every single game and watch them lose consistently every single game. But we still rooted for them. We still loved them because it was St. Louis pride, and it was like a whole big thing to be like, yeah, we'll pay overpriced beer prices and nacho prices and Dippin' Dots prices, and we'll sit there in those uncomfortable seats and watch you lose because we love you. And I think that kind of traded over to Ferrari a little bit, where it was like, they lost, they're P17, or they DNF'd. I love them still. Both DNF'd in Canada, love them still. I'm not gonna just turn away just because they're not doing well. I think that's just kind of like my connection to them. If you could attend any race, IndyCar or F1, which one would it be and why? Ooh, brain read. Anyways, I think for F1, I think Silverstone would be a good one to go to, and like a night race like Singapore would be cool, or Las Vegas. Las Vegas could be cool. I would say Miami, but I don't do well in heat, so I don't know why I said Singapore either. I'd be like dying. Anyways, I think, to be honest, any F1 race would be so cool to attend. But I think for IndyCar, it would be really cool to see the Indy 500. That's like the big one that everyone's like a must-see to go to. And I specifically want to see Pato win the Indy 500 one of these years. That is my dream. That is my goal. Y'all did hit dirty this year, so I couldn't celebrate Charles's win because I did cry about Pato. I didn't even know Pato at the time, but like, because how I found out about Pato was because he lost the Indy 500 runner-up. And because I was like, yay, Charles wins Monaco! What do you mean this poor little driver is crying? Who is this driver? I need to know him now! And then people were like, that's Pato, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like researching, and I was like, I love him, I'm gonna support him. And that's how I ended up loving Pato. See, this is what happens. I tell one story and I end up telling 5. What's been your favorite race to watch so far? I'm a little biased, but Lando's first win has always been memorable for me. So that was one of my favorites, because that was the one race that I watched with my friend Hannah, and we watched it together because it was the single race that we were able to watch together originally. And I jokingly was like, what if this is the day that we see Lando win? And then he won, and we were like, my God! And I was like, I read that script. I knew I read that script. If you could meet any driver, who would it be and what would you ask them? I don't know. I feel like I want to do one thing where it's like I meet every single driver from IndyCar or every single driver from F1 and I ask them for one song and then I make a collective playlist. But that's a little cheesy and stupid. Is that cheesy or stupid? Let me know. I feel like I would want to ask Charles a question, but I don't know what I would ask him. Maybe I'd ask him what it feels like to win Monaco and Monza in the same year. I feel like that would be a good answer. Or how has becoming a dog dad affected him? Has it boosted his life in a way? Because I know my little furry girls boosted my life. Like, before them, like, I don't know anything before having dogs, but like having dogs, you understand and you learn a certain type of love that like you can't get from a person. And I don't know how to explain that without being rude. Anyways, cut the cameras. What's your dream motorsport related job? I would want to do something with mental health. I don't know what it is, and I just feel like motorsport needs more focus on mental health than anything else, because it's an endurance thing, and it's like a mental thing on top of it, because it's crazy to go and get in a car and drive at Mach Jesus speed and compete and possibly crash and all of this stuff. Like, you're risking your life every time you go out on the track. I know that sounds so cliche, but it's true. Like, especially for Indycar. Although, like, they have, like, the aero shields and all of that, and the safety measures have been, like, dialed up to 100 now. So it's a lot safer than it used to be, but doesn't mean that it doesn't continuously happen, you know? So I think, like, having some sort of mental health thing in there, like, I know Lando struggled with it, and I know Charles has struggled with being too hard on themselves. I think that, and Lando's talked about his anxiety and stuff, and with the media always judging every single angle of these drivers to the point where it's like, you just lost your edge because you said you're nervous. Like, don't do that. People are human. Humans are nervous. Humans have anxiety. That's just how it is. So I think some sort of mental health, motorsport, like wellness coach or something. I don't know. Aaron McLaren, if you want to figure that out, hit me up, girl. Hit me up. I'll be licensed in art therapy soon. Hit me up. I'm sorry. How do you balance watching both IndyCar and F1? I would say it's easy if they're at different times, because when it's like a Euro race, the time difference is so much different. It'll be like a morning race for F1 and then an afternoon race for IndyCar, so it's easy and it's spread out. But I also joined IndyCar so late that I didn't really have the meld of like having to balance the two. I would say it's been pretty easy for me, because it's just like watch IndyCar in the afternoon, set a timer, an alarm, watch F1 in the morning, because it'd be like 8 a.m. for races. I'm like, dude, I'm in the Midwest, bitch. 8 a.m. for a race? 8 a.m. for a practice? Crazy. 7 a.m. for a practice? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? But yeah, I don't think it's that hard, for me at least. What is your favorite aspect of each motorsport? F1 and IndyCar, I like, this is gonna sound horrible, I like that it's a little more exciting. I like that anything can happen, because an IndyCar race, I've never once predicted what had happened. Like, I'm literally on the edge of my seat every single time, because you think you know what's gonna happen, and then someone spins out and hits someone else, and then you're like, what? Like, you guys were leading and suddenly everyone is out of the race. Like, was it Canada when Pato hit the corner and they got hit by like everyone? I think it was Canada, Montreal. But like, I never in my life suspected to even see that. And then there's so many cars that go flying, and I'm like, sir, did anyone tell you you're supposed to keep all 4 wheels on the ground? Just me? Okay. But F1, I feel like there's a lot more rules for F1 than IndyCar. I could be wrong, but there's all these different components with like tire compounds and like pit stop limits, where it's like, oh, you're gonna do 2 stop and 1 stop. Like, the minimum amount of stops you need is this amount. Blah blah. The racing line and all that stuff. Because from the IndyCars that I've seen, it's only been ovals for like the last couple that I've actually seen. So I haven't really fully seen all of IndyCar, but F1 with all of the silly goosey, loosey goosey, full beans Leclerc. I feel like a commentator, the way that I'm just saying loosey goosey, silly goosey. I'm just saying things off the top of my head. like an announcer. Where was I? The track layouts are so different and so unique. And I love that all of them are unique, and they do like multiple, they basically cover all over, and places that like I didn't even think racing existed in. And I was like, that is so cool. Like, I didn't, like, before knowing F1, it wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even know about it. And now I'm like, whoa, they were racing there, and I've been there. Didn't know they raced there. That's crazy. Anyways, who is the most underrated driver in both IndyCar and F1? Underrated driver. Sorry. The train by our school is kind of loud. Underrated driver for IndyCar. I feel like Pato's kind of underrated. Like, he has a lot of fan base to support him, but like I never even like knew about IndyCar, and it's like as a whole IndyCar is kind of underrated because I didn't even know it existed until it was on my radar. Underrated driver for F1. That's hard to say because there's a lot of them that I'm like, yeah, they could be underrated, but at the same time they get so much popularity because in F1 every driver gets talked about because they're always compared to their teammate. So if their teammate is talked about, they're also talked about. So I feel like world champion wise underrated picks is Lando and Charles. I feel like they have a very strong competitor for world champion. I mean, Max is obviously like the shoe-in for world champion, but like underrated driver wise, I think, and don't shoot me here, I think Charles is pretty underrated. He gets a lot of heat, and I mean a lot of heat, mostly because Ferrari fucks him over. The other half of it is he doesn't drive, I'm not gonna say competitive, as like full, like he trying to word this in the way that everyone can understand where my brain's at. He often pushes, but then pushes too far and finds that limit, and then that limit ends up with him in the wall. And so people think that's him being a bad driver, but it's not him being a bad driver, it's him pushing too far, too hard, hitting curves too fast, spinning, hitting the walls, all of that. Like, I think he's not a bad driver. Ferrari doesn't always fuck him over, but sometimes the car, when they struggle with the car, Charles and Carlos both do better with a failing car, but I think Charles does better with a failing car than he does with a good car. Sometimes. I could be talking out of my butt, but I think he is very underrated. In my opinion only, you can say things differently. I also think Lando Norris gets too much hate. He gets so much hate for like breathing, existing. Sometimes he gets justified hate for like the boycotting stuff. That is so fair. What do you mean he bought Starbucks? Like, he's doing an ad for Ralph Lauren. I didn't really talk about it because I myself am like, I don't even Polo Ralph Lauren, I don't even go there. I think Polo Ralph Lauren is very Gucci, and it's very, we're gonna do 12 things of the same line, but make it all different, because they're like, Ralph Lauren blue, Ralph Lauren black, Ralph Lauren red. Like any other names, please. Moving on. What do you do in your free time? In my free time, I draw, used to do guitar. I have a guitar over there, like acoustic. I used to do acoustic guitar, I draw, I paint. Sometimes I do pottery, like, not like the wheel pottery, but like clay pottery. Not like traditional, but like the air dry kind of clay. And I think that's mostly it. How did you get into F1 and IndyCar? F1, I watched Drive to Survive because my friend told me about it, and she said something about me being like Charles Leclerc. Who's Charles Leclerc? And they were like, this is Charles Leclerc. That's me, you go look him up on TikTok. Yes, yes. So then I found thirst edits. Then I went down a rabbit hole of thirst edits. I am just a girl, Your Honor. That's all I have to say. And then I made an F1 Twitter just because I was just bored one day, and I was like, let's see if I have other people I can yap with about this besides my friend Hannah. And then I found all of my little lovely community on Twitter. But I have my lovely little community. I love you guys so much. And if you've made it this far into the video and you're part of my lovely little ducks on Twitter at Patos Freckles on Twitter, and Instagram. I want you to drop a white heart and a little sunflower. And moving on to the next question. What is your favorite thing about the F1 community? Like the F1 community in general, I love that it can rally around of sport. Like there's competitiveness, but at the end of the day, like at least on my side of the fence, at the end of the day, like people respect other people's opinions. They're like, you like this driver? That's cool. They did this, and they fucked up on this race. That's why I think my driver's better. But like your driver's cool. But then there's like the other side of the community that's like, oh, you like this driver? Fuck you. And it's like, block me to save your peace, I guess. But like, if you're getting upset and crying because I like one driver and you don't like my driver, tough cheese. But I like the F1 community on Twitter the most. I will say that. Because like everyone has a bonding experience and we can all like chat and talk about the race and like yap about our drivers and like and you find like niche little communities within F1 community of like everyone's driver community, and then you find all these little mootsies and stuff and like all these friends. Like some of my closer friends I've made this year have all been F1 people from like Twitter. Shout out Viv and Shelby, you. Next question. If you met Pato, Lando, or Daniel, what would be the first one you say or would ask them? I would say to Daniel that I am happy that he's out of the sport and retired and living his best life, although I will miss him. And like that I would follow him like wherever he decides to go and whatever he decides to do. Like I will follow Daniel to like the ends of the earth. I love that man so wholeheartedly, and when I take a trip to Australia, I'm gonna buy a bottle of his wine and fly it home. And for Pato, I feel like I would tell him about the Pato pit stops and tell him how much he brightens everyone's day and how much using his videos I can spread positivity and be like, hopefully this isn't weird that I do this, but like we all love you and I'm spreading positivity using your videos and giving gentle reminders and like telling people like that like I'm proud of them and that I love them and all that stuff. And I think that he would really enjoy that because he seems to be such a lovely human being and such a lovely little spirit. Yeah. Lando, I feel like I would just tell him that I appreciate that he speaks up about mental health and mental health awareness, and then he talks about his mental struggles, because I mean that is such a hard thing to do for anybody, but especially for him being in the hot seat always, because he's such a young up and coming driver. And I say up and coming even though he's been in the sport for years, but like he's finally in contention for world championship. So now he has a lot more pressure on his back, and a lot more pressure means a lot more mentally. He has to be focused and he has to be less nervous, and he has to go out and do things. And if your nerves fuck you up, like they fuck me up, and I'm sure they fuck him up sometimes, like it's such a hard thing to deal with. And on top of the media ripping him to shreds for being like, you said you're nervous? Race car drivers aren't supposed to be nervous. Was Senna nervous? No. It's like, can us, like, millennials and Gen Z, can we say things about our mental health and our mental health awareness without boomers and older generations being like, back in my day, we had nothing of the sort. Like, yes, you did. You might have swallowed it down and pretended like it didn't exist, but it was there. It was 100% there. I'm getting a little heated. I'm sorry. It's supposed to be a funny little chaotic little video, and I'm getting a little heated. I'm sorry. LOL. That was very unladylike. I'm sorry. It's only 8 p.m. and I'm yawning. Y'all ever be tired at random hours of the day, but you slept all day? That's like, my body's betraying me. There's literally betrayal. Anyways, what is your true love, hobby, or interest? My true love and hobby is art. I'll say that. I love painting and drawing so much, and I have since I was little. Since I could like hold a pencil, I've been drawing. Like my mother has a whole gallery wall at our old house. It was this hallway from our kitchen to our dining room, and the whole hallway was just covered with our art. Most of it was mine, because I was the artist of the family. But it's just covered with art that we've made throughout the years. And she just was so excited to like display it in the house, and she's so excited for me to like be able to like draw stuff for them. And now we moved to South Carolina. We have this big wall that's basically our living room wall that connects our kitchen to our living room. It's all open floor plan. So when you first walk in the door, you have the hallway to the bathroom, and that same connecting hallway wall is the wall for the living room. And that big wall, they're like, you could just paint a mural here. And I'm like, Mama, Papa, look at me when I said this. You want me to do what on that wall? After you literally told me, no, don't paint on walls, don't paint on walls. But now they're like, oh, she's got potential. Paint on our walls, please. Like, it's so weird seeing that growing up and being like, don't get paint on the walls, don't get paint on the floor. And now they're like, paint the walls, please. And I'm like, suddenly I turned 21 and y'all are like, we're gonna put you to free labor because now it's not child labor. Like, anyways, where was this going? We're just gonna move on to the next question. What or who got you into Formula One? My friend Hannah, love her to death. She's literally my ride or die. She is the Chili to my Lord Percival, and I met her through school. We're in the same major, art therapy, and God, love her to death. Love her. And she was like, I don't remember how it started, but she had brought up that I said earlier that she was like, you remind me of Charles Leclerc. And then was like, you might really like Drive to Survive. And I was like, ooh. And I had posted a Charles Leclerc edit on my story on Snapchat, and she's like, Charles Leclerc, and I was like, yeah, I love him. And they're like, do you know anything about him? And I'm like, no. And they're like, let me clue you in, girl. And so then they clued me in, and I just fell in love with the sport. Next, favorite Disney movie. This is so hard. I want to say it's Hercules. It was Hercules for years. I'm gonna say Hercules, but I could be, it's either Hercules. I completely forgot about Emperor's New Groove. Emperor's New Groove 1 and 2. So good. So good. I quote them constantly. Favorite movie, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It's a adaptation of a Hunter S. Thompson book. It's a wild ride. It's crazy. It's like an acid trip. But I love it so much, and I love Johnny Depp. Favorite book. I don't read often, but when I do read, I really have to love the book to finish it. One of the books that I really liked that I'd read recently is, what is the book? Failing Up by Leslie Odom Jr., the one that played Aaron Burr from Hamilton. He basically talks about like how he like didn't get jobs and struggled to find a job in Broadway, and then finally landed Hamilton. And it's just a really interesting read, I think. And I like the idea of failing up. Like, you can fail but only go up from there. And the other favorite book that I had, and it's really depressing and I don't understand why, but one of the other books that comes to mind is a book that I read in like first grade or something. It was called Wendy Has Wings. And it was about, I want to say it's about a brother who lost his sister to like a accident, and he's trying to navigate grief as a kid. And so he kind of like, through the story, it explains grief in a way that kids will understand. And I think that is just such an interesting concept for like a kid, it's not like a kid's book, because it's about this thick. But it's a nice read, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Favorite TV show. Currently, my favorite TV show is The Bear. If you follow me on Twitter, you know I love Jeremy Allen White. So, The Bear and Shameless. I still have to get through Shameless again. I stopped on like season 3 because I just like took a break and then just didn't pick it back up. And stop. Sorry, my phone's buzzing because my friends are texting me. Where was I? Shameless and The Bear and Punisher and Daredevil. Those are 2 other good ones. Because I love John Bernthal so much. Actor, and I like his podcast. I just like John Bernthal. I've said my piece. Favorite fictional character. John Bernthal as Frank Castle is one of them. Carmi Berzatto on The Bear is another one. And of course Liv Gallagher, and had it in my head. And Dean Winchester, my OG. I love me some season 1 Dean Winchester. Anyways, when did you start watching IndyCar and why? I started watching, I want to say, I think Canada was the first race that I watched, which is terrifying to say out loud. Because Canada is the one where Pato got hit like repeatedly on that corner, and it was so scary. But that was the first one that I watched. Because I found him through the day that he lost the Indy 500, and then later on Viv was posting photos of him, and I was like, I see the vision, give him to me. So then I just fell in love with IndyCar, and then I had a bunch of people be like, oh, do you want to be added to a group chat? So then we got added to a group chat, and then the people in the group chat started teaching me about IndyCar, and I was like, this is what the IndyCar community is about. And the IndyCar community is so funny in the way that, like, they don't take themselves seriously. Everything is, like they're literally like, Colton Herta, so brat, from the actual IndyCar site. And I'm like, this is a serious sport. What do you mean? Which one do you prefer, F1 or Indy? That's like trying to pick a favorite child. But, like, it depends on the day, because sometimes if the race results for, like, qualifying are horrible, I'm kind of bummed to watch, so then I kind of look forward to IndyCar. But then if I watch IndyCar and it's kind of shit and my favorite driver is DNF'd, then I'm back to watching reruns of the race that I skipped. Favorite driver and team for F1 and IndyCar? I don't really have a favorite team for either, because I think for F1 you kind of hate all of the teams, because all of the teams are kind of shady in some way or another. So favorite team, Ferrari and McLaren, but I don't really root for McLaren, because of what they did to Daniel and what they did to Lando and Oscar in the Hungary Grand Prix. We don't talk about that. That was very fucking shady. But, like, there's kind of sides to it where it's like, I don't like the team, I support the drivers. And that is how I feel about McLaren, where I love Oscar and Lando, but I don't really like McLaren. So I will root for the drivers, but not the team. But for Ferrari, if you root for Charles, and this is just my opinion, if you root for Charles and you know Charles is core, that he's a Ferrari person, and, like, he's Ferrari through and through. Because that's been his dream, it's been his lifetime goal, and he's achieved it, and he loves it. And if you root for Charles, you can't hate Ferrari. You have to support Ferrari too. Because Charles and Ferrari are kind of a package deal, in a way. In my head, that's just how it is. It's like, Charles loves Ferrari, so you have to love Ferrari if you love Charles, if that makes sense. Anyways, if you've made it to the end of this video, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for hanging out with me today, or tonight, depending on whenever you're watching this. I hope you enjoyed your little snack and your drink, and you enjoyed my company, and I will see you in the next video.